Na rais akituamulisha vile kazi inafanywa, mimi na Kibicho tutafanya hiyo kazi vile rais ametuamulisha tufanye hiyo kazi.
Msiseme ya kwamba eti mumetumwa na rais muende muongee na madharau kwa wananchi. Mimi namjua Uhuru Kenyatta, rais wetu. Ni mtu mungwana, ni mtu mpole, hajawahi kutumia madharau kwa wananchi.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has been under fire the last couple of weeks from leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto. They say, A, he is intimidating them and lacks respect for the second in command. Sofia Wanuna has just spoken to Samson Cherargei, and specific question, if really he's disrespectful to the Deputy President, then perhaps this is a conversation that needs to start from the President himself. So let's look at why Fred Matiang'i is really in the political face, is a person of interest in the political field. Right now we are speaking to Dr. Lutalala Mukwana, who's a political analyst. He's joining me in studio. We also have James Mamboleo, who's an advocate and political analyst as well. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us and for speaking to us on the big story. Mamboleo, let me begin with you. So Cherargei says that Interior Cabinet Secretary is insubordinating the Deputy President. Apparently, Matiang'i has shown disrespect even within the Senate, and he quoted Kirinyaga saying he was not partisan. He's answerable to President Uhuru Kenyatta alone, and indeed, Fred Matiang'i said, I have one boss. That boss is President Uhuru Kenyatta. So from what you're seeing, the back and forth, is there any reason, do you have any reason to think that Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has been insubordinating the Deputy President and probably intimidating leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto?
A big no, but even before I get to that important question, I would wonder why KTN, a station of repute like this one, would give my friend Senator Cherargei 15 minutes of campaign time for free. Because you know what? Where the Deputy President comes from and the leaders allied to him, these days it is extremely fashionable for leaders to make as much noise in support of the Deputy President against his perceived enemies, because in their view, that is the only way they are going to get re-elected or get elected or get by. So I think what you're seeing there is a culmination of one critical thing. The fact that, of course, we know that the Deputy President has offered himself very, very expressly for the candidature of the presidency of the Republic of Kenya in 2022. These and many other things makes it extremely uncomfortable on his side every time they see any star, any person rising in the political space. And to their understanding, the reason why Dr. Fred Matiang'i has been vested with so much responsibility in cabinet, for them could be a sign of things probably they do not understand. And so why do you noise from Deputy President William Ruto's side? It's because Deputy President William Ruto simply takes Dr. Fred Matiang'i as a probable contender for a seat in the future that he does not understand. He knows that this man could be a threat in some way. Whether that is a fact or not is yet to be seen. But look at it. Dr. Fred Matiang'i has not offered himself for any seat. He has not offered himself for the seat of Deputy President. He has not offered himself for the seat of President come 2022. He is only the Internal Security Minister and in charge of government coordination. Now, something extremely curious to me is, where does the group of leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto get this sense of entitlement from? Because look at Article 147 of the Constitution. It makes the Deputy President the principal assistant of the President. In effect, the ticket is joined, that when the President is elected, the Deputy President is supposed to serve under him as assistant. And so we are not supposed to have a situation in which there is supposed to be a loyalty directed at the Deputy President as Deputy President. We are supposed to talk about the presidency. And if the President has instructed his security minister to do certain things, and the deputy president is not happy with it, the place we would want that settled in a democracy of good standing like this one is that the deputy president should approach his boss, the president, and tell him, I'm not exactly happy at the way some of the cabinet secretaries are going about their business. And so when you find the deputy president leaving or being now represented by leaders allied to him like Cherargei and others in the political open space as they are doing, then there's something which is the matter. And in fact, let me tell you something, that the deputy president has been the lead example of insubordination of his boss. Many times, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta has said people should not concentrate right now in his government on politicking and such kind of stuff. And who leads political campaigns early across the country? It is the deputy president. So if it's a question of insubordination, or if not agreeing with your boss is a question of insubordination, then the first culprit is going to be the deputy president. But most importantly, cabinet secretaries are not politicians. So cabinet secretaries may not have the political space to express themselves, especially when they are under attack, like the deputy president and his cartel or coterie of leaders who surround him. So one thing that the deputy president and his people should understand is that as they go around the country making so much noise about this cabinet secretary and that cabinet secretary, calling them names, saying these ones have not been elected by anyone, they should understand that this Constitution 2010 gives several responsibilities to several people. Some of those responsibilities are elected and some of those responsibilities are appointive. And so you cannot say that you are any superior to any other person in government just because you are elected. And I think a fallacy that we need to demystify, that the only people that are important and are supposed to speak for the rest of everybody of us is elected leaders. So I do not think at all that the CS that has gone out of the rule book, that he has insubordinated the deputy president. In fact, when I looked at the Senator Cherargei speaking, I could not see anything specifically he alluded to which would point to any insubordination. And so I don't agree with him at all. Okay, so this is where I bring in Dr. Alutalala. Listening to both Cherargei and Mamboleo, do you get the feeling that perhaps Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i may have overstepped his boundaries? And how exactly did he get here? Because I did mention, this is not the first time that they're called for his impeachment. Early in the year, there were calls for his impeachment. Right now, there are calls for his impeachment from leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto. From just observing the political field, do you get the feeling that perhaps there's reason to have leaders allied to Deputy President take on CS Matiang'i?
Linda, thank you very much for the invite, and as always, a pleasure to interact with you and our viewers. First of all, allow me just to have a bit of an intro. Okay. Linda, every time I interact with people like you, other colleagues around, the Kenyans out there, and I see the caliber of people that we have in this country, it pains me to the core when I listen to the kind of leaders that we have in this country. It is so painful, Linda, that as we speak, there are urgent national issues which Honorable Cherargei and the government which he serves ought to be concentrating in solving, Linda. And therefore, I want to associate myself with the views of my brother on the other end, James Mamboleo, that the kind of airtime we are spending on this gentleman is a waste of our good Lord's time. It is important at all times to understand that as we speak, there are hundreds of Kenyans who have been killed by floods. Over 6,000 acres of farmland destroyed. Youth are poor and dying from drugs out there. The list is endless. You know it just like I do. And therefore, it is very wrong that this is the headline that we have to discuss. But nevertheless, because I'm prompted to discuss, let me begin by saying that if anyone doubted that the BBI is a bridge that leads to demolition of bridges, this must be it. Honorable Cherargei, with due respect, has no business complaining that Honorable Matiang'i is attending to Honorable William Ruto pejoratively, when he himself, in his rejoinder, is referring to him so pejoratively. For God's sake, what research has he done to establish that if Honorable Matiang'i went to his village back in Nyamira, he'll not get a seat of MCA? So briefly, the kind of condescending attitude that our leaders are showing against each other is the reason, I think, why in the BBI and the other documents that we shall be looking at later in this country, the issue of national ethos must be a cornerstone. We complain that we do not have national ideals, but these are the ideas the leaders are setting. Talk to each other with respect so that the people you lead can also address each other with respect. Number two, Honorable Matiang'i is a civil servant. Honorable Matiang'i is in trouble because just like those behind him, his feet for the purpose which he was appointed. Others came before him, the late Honorable J.J. Kamodo, when he was the Secretary General of Kano. He received a lot of condemnation during his days, but he delivered with precision what Baba Moi always tasked him to do, including on that day in Kasarani, when the late Saitoti said, there comes a time. And therefore, it is important to understand that what is happening is because of the politics of 2022. We cannot run away from that. But the saddest thing is that the Deputy President, with due respect, and his team are circumventing the real source of the problem. The real source of the problem, Linda, is that 7 years ago, Honorable William Ruto was promised that he'll be the Jubilee candidate and that he'll be president of this country. And therefore, there was the first Tano, then there came Tano Tena. What has happened is that Honorable William Ruto is seeing Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta digress from what he promised. But rather than confront him this early, he chooses to use his people to throw barbs at civil servants who are doing the work they are sent for. I agree that Honorable Matiang'i must treat William Ruto with a due decorum because he's the Deputy President. But when you see a civil servant speak as Honorable Matiang'i has spoken, he's simply telling Cherargei and his people, if I have done anything wrong, I've done because the president has sent me. Why are they insisting on blaming Matiang'i? When Honorable Matiang'i is saying, I have been sent by the president to do what I'm doing. Yeah. So they must be bold enough and confront Uhuru Kenyatta today, look him in the eyeball and ask him why it is not Tano Tena for William Ruto. Yeah. That is the problem.
I know. And we actually, when Sophia was speaking to Cherargei, she asked that question, he didn't answer. I posed that question again, he didn't have specific answer. But I hear both of you that perhaps there are bigger things that we need to be talking about this in this country. But both of you realize this is the Interior Cabinet Secretary. It doesn't augur well when you have politicians across the country over the weekend castigating Interior Cabinet Secretary and making all manner of wild allegations. So perhaps, in my view, this is a conversation that we should have. But Mambole, you get the final word in this conversation.
Agreed.
Alutalalo says that perhaps Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is a victim of his own success. So just listening into the leaders, he seems to think the source of the problem is 2022 and the promises that were made by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So from where you sit, what is the source of the problem? Why is Matiang'i finding himself where he is?
The source of Matiang'i's problem is twofold. The first one is that Matiang'i has succeeded in shining as cabinet secretary in a government full of cabinet secretaries who deliver on nothing on the portfolios that they have been given. The second thing, and which is the most pinching for William Ruto's side, is this, that over time, the president has insisted that he does not want to harbor political ambition of the nature that starts early campaigns, like we have seen from the side of the deputy president. And you can see that the deputy president has decided that he's going to take his own course. He's not going to listen to the president as far as that matter is concerned. And because the president is keen on getting people to deliver on his legacy, he has found it fit, having tested and found Dr. Matiang'i to be fit, he has found it apt to appoint Dr. Matiang'i to head the delivery of projects within his government, which is why now Matiang'i is referred to as Super CS. And do you know what that has done? It has swept the rag from the feet of the deputy president, who was using the launch of projects and going around the country in the guise of taking development to the people off that ground. And so therefore the deputy president can no longer be seen to be speaking as the representative of the president in these kind of things, because the official responsibility has been given to Dr. Fred Matiang'i through the executive orders. And so because of that, Deputy President William Ruto, of course, is not happy, and so you don't expect his people to be happy. Other fact that this responsibility has been given to someone else except him in the government. And what we are seeing, as my friend Dr. Alutalala has said, is a response, early response to what has happened. And instead of speaking to his boss, who is the president, the deputy president is trying to hit at people who have been designated to do certain jobs by the president, so that this happens within hearing shot of the president, so that in actual fact, he is actually sending this message to the president that I'm not extremely happy at the way I'm being treated and so on and so forth. So ultimately, the important question here is that this is actually a question that deals with 2022 politics. And as other viewers and other people have said, the important thing here is that Dr. Matiang'i is being used as a punch bag. Those barbs are actually directed ultimately at the president.
Alutalala, you get the final word in under a minute. So just assume that indeed there are serious problems that leaders allied to Deputy President seem to think lie with Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Is this the best way to go about it? And if indeed there are issues, what is the best way to go about it, apart from political meetings over the weekend and castigating the man?
Linda, I'll use a minute. The best way is to stop being cowardly and hypocritical and face the son of Jomo and demand that he fulfills the promise. Number two, something that Honorable Cherargei has said is very disturbing. Yeah. He has said that, I think it's not Honorable, yeah, he has said, but also Honorable Murkomen, that they saved Honorable Matiang'i. What I understand this to mean is that Honorable Matiang'i was in some trouble. And this trouble had to do with the Roraka land scam, and that they saved him. This is a confession, Linda, that our political class are actually a fraudulent cartel who are coming together to protect each other, and the fight against corruption is a lost fight. Finally, I do understand the feeling of the deputy president, because from the onset, Linda, the deputy was not a deputy. This was co-presidency. Same shirts, same ties. In terms of appointments, right from the cabinet ministers, that says all the way down, Honorable Uhuru had half, and William Ruto had half. Okay. They entrenched tribalism because Honorable William's people were Kalenjin and their friends, Honorable Uhuru, Agikuyu, and his friends. They are part of the tribal problem we have in this country. And therefore, right, Honorable Cherargei must feel ashamed to start complaining about being treated badly. Right. When they must take it in stride, because when NASA followers and Raila supporters were being fed by bullets, I hear you, on Honorable Matiang'i's instructions, yeah, they celebrated. Okay. They should take it in stride as well.
I need to wrap up. Absolutely have to wrap up. But thank you. A big thank you to Samson Cherargei, Nandi Senator, who spoke to our lead reporter, Sophia Wanuna, Dr. Lutalala Mukhwana, who's a political analyst, as well as James Mamboleo, who's an advocate, stroke political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This has been The Big Story. I'm Linda Obutu. I'll see you in a couple of minutes on KTN Prime.